Hey friend, welcome back to the show. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to let you know I am co-hosting a live event October 25th in Deerfield Beach, Florida. The Rise and Flourish Summit is a day for you to show up for yourself, to get into the room with like-minded moms, to feel seen and heard on your journey of motherhood, and to walk away feeling so nourished and clear, and also with tools that will help you stay calm amidst the chaos. Early ticket sales are happening now until September 7th. IRiseandFlourish.com to register. I cannot wait to see you there. The room will fill up and we do have limited space. So if you think you want to go, hop on to IRiseandFlourish.com now to register.
Even if I was just there to play with my children, I would have like a to-do list running at the back of my head, or be like, okay, like I need to do this later. And after this, I'm going to read this book and then I'm going to do this, and yada, yada, yada. And when I tuned into it, for me, there was a belief that it was tied to success. So it was a belief that in order to be successful, I had to be productive. And in order to be productive, I had to be busy.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I am so excited to be here today. Oh my gosh. So the school year has started. It's August and the end of August as I'm recording this. And actually you're going to hear it pretty much at the end of August. I'm kind of recording and uploading episodes in real time because I took a little time off from recording interviews over the summer, which was great. And now I'm back and that's great too. Today I'm joined by Stasia Jaramillo. Stasia is a subconscious healing expert and the founder of CreateHigher.com. After years as a high-achieving leader in the corporate world, she realized that external success didn't equal inner fulfillment. Yes, please. And she chose to follow her deeper calling for more. As a mother of two, she wanted a life led by intuition, not office hours, where family comes first. Love that. Today, she helps high-performing women answer their own call for more and lead from alignment using subconscious and energetic reprogramming to release the patterns that hustle and strategy alone can't touch. She believes healing does not have to be hard and no longer takes years of therapy to break through that glass ceiling of success. Yes, please to all of it. Stasia is just a wonderful intuitive healer. I had a session with her before this interview and it was so profound. I am so excited to announce also that Stasia is going to be one of our amazing speakers at the Rise and Flourish, the first annual Rise and Flourish Summit, October 25th in Deerfield Beach, Florida. My friend Ashley and I are co-organizing an event for mothers and women who want to take a day off, who want to go show up for themselves, who want to get self-care, connection, and education in a really amazing luxe space. It's at the 5 Elements Spa in Deerfield Beach, Florida, and you're just going to be so cared for. And the event is going to be awesome, and Stasia is going to be one of the amazing practitioners there. So I'm so excited to bring her to you guys in real life. So if you want to join us on that day, the early ticket sales are still happening now. So go to IRiseandFlourish.com. I'll put the link down in the description and join us that day. I cannot wait to give you a hug in real life and for you guys to just see all the amazing things that we have planned for everybody. All right, without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Stasia. Hi, Stasia. Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Hi, Ryan. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Oh my gosh. I'm so thrilled that you're here. We just got done with a theta healing and powerful, doesn't even describe it. I love that we're recording this directly after because I knew there were going to be so many downloads for me and I knew I was going to just be so fresh from the experience to talk about it. And I am literally blown away. And I can't wait to, integrate it, but I'm curious from your perspective with theta healing, with subconscious programming. Is that how you would say it? Or with subconscious reprogramming, perhaps? Both. Okay. Is there an integration period or is it just okay, and you're done? Or do you have to kind of go through and journal and do all that?
So it works instantly. And oftentimes people literally feel a shift right there in the session where they're like, oh my God, I feel lighter, I feel more open or whatever that looks like.
Yep.
But I feel like some clients, and honestly, I'm kind of one of those people as well, that for me, it's almost like I need to like see it to believe it. So it's almost like it's not so much that it takes time to take effect, but it's rather just like your own lived experience where, how are you showing up the next day where you're like, I would have doubted myself in this case, but I actually don't feel that way anymore. Or I would have felt this way, but no, I'm actually, I feel good to do this. And so almost just to like prove it to yourself to really be able to see it. But otherwise, I mean, it really does work instantly. So
Wow. Can you do it on yourself?
yes.
Or you
Oh, yeah.
can?
I do it all the time.
My God, that's amazing. What a great personal development growth tool that you have in your toolbox.
Honestly, when I first started this work, I did a first session with a practitioner, and the way she was able to articulate my like beliefs and feelings that literally I felt deep in my soul, but I was like, I couldn't have even articulated them better myself, that I was like, okay, I need to, like literally after 2 sessions, I was like, I need to learn this work. And really the only intention was for me. I was like, I just want to grow. Like I wasn't expecting to be, a practitioner. I was in corporate and I was like a high achieving corporate girly, and I wasn't, expecting to become a theta healing practitioner. But the more I got into it and the more I just recognized how powerful this work is, and then the more I just like couldn't wait to share it with others. And it was like working on my mom, my sister, and just trying it on like anyone that would be open to it. And I mean, it was impactful. The work kind of spoke for itself. And then frankly, I felt like I got pretty good at it, because it's like the skill is really to be able to, you're channeling, but it's the ability to be able to like interpret and understand energy and understand what needs to shift as well. And so then it just became like a craft a little bit, like to understand that and interpret it. And then, it just got so excited about sharing it with as many people as I could.
Yeah. It seems like it's like an art and a science. Like the interpretation of it is like the art, but the science of it, I don't know like how you actually learn the science of it. Like just closing your eyes and being able to tune into someone else's energy. Maybe you can tell us that. But the way that you just like went there, I mean, most of the things you were saying, I was like, yep, nailed it on it. Like, I mean, it was just, you were just right there. And it was stuff like we talked about after the session, I didn't even know was really there. It wasn't a top of mind. It's not the question that I started with. It all just kind of came. So tell us about like how it's an art and a science, and maybe like how you learn how to do it, because I'm going like, there is some sort of like, it seems like maybe you're just an intuitive person at the core. I wonder if you were always intuitive, like as a child, and it was a gift that you've just been learning over time. So that was like a multifaceted question, but just let's roll with it.
I'll tackle it.
Yeah.
No, so I do feel like I was always intuitive, and I do feel like everyone has that sense, and sure, some might have it more heightened than others. But for me, for a long time, and really until I started doing theta healing, I didn't really know how to tap into it. I didn't know, like, I would see healers that would tell me, oh, you're intuitive. And it's like, great, how do I access it? How do I like leverage it? And so with theta healing, it's essentially like a meditative technique. And I touched on this with you a little bit about the 7 planes of existence. And I want to briefly explain. So this is not just unique to theta healing, but the 7 planes of existence, like we as people are on the 3rd plane, spirit is on the 4th plane, your higher self is on the 5th plane, 6th is the laws of the universe, and the 7th plane is source or creator or universe or God or whatever you want to call it. And essentially, it's about getting to the 7th plane, or like, channeling from source. And I would say the biggest, other than like kind of the, the training that I went through in theta healing of understanding how to access it, other than that, it's just been practice. And I mean like for me, it's been daily practice, and not out of like a chore that I had to do it, but just because I was like, how do I tap into that again, And so when I'm comparing that to, say, a psychic or something like that, if you've seen a psychic, and some people are like, oh, psychics are lying to you, or they said something to me and it didn't resonate, or others are like, oh, this was amazing and they channeled everything. Chances are it's not like the psychic is completely like lying to you, but you don't really know what they're tapping into. Like they might be tapping into spirit on the 4th plane, for example,
Right.
or, channeling your like great aunt Sally or something. And or even your higher self. And the higher self, yes, your higher self has your best interest at heart and like is kind of, some people think of it as like all knowing, but the higher self can actually have like limitations of its own. And the analogy that I like to compare it to is like a newborn baby and a mother. Because if the newborn baby is alone in his crib crying because the mother stepped out to get the bottle for 5 minutes, and the baby's like, I'm alone, I'm scared. But the mother's like, you're safe. You have nothing to worry about. I'm just, I'm going to be back in the room in 5 minutes. And, but the baby is crying because he doesn't know. So if you're that baby, but the mother might not know what's outside or what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? And so like the higher self also has limitations, I guess. And so really with theta healing and its uniqueness is getting to that seventh plane and understanding like the highest truth of all that is, and being able to tune in and channel from that energy.
So is the highest truth of all that is love?
Yes. I mean,
okay.
I think I've heard you speak about the book. Have I heard you speak about the book, A Return to Love?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. Because that was one of my first books on my spiritual journey. And that like changed everything for me. And, everything she talks about there is how I see the world as well, where it's either fear or love.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Sorry. What's interesting is that I have my grandma's copy who just transitioned on Sunday of Return to Love. And
Wow.
that's my copy. And it was a gift from my aunt to her. But yeah, so you've definitely heard me talk about that book. Yeah.
How beautiful.
Yeah. So, because when you say the highest truth of all that is, you know what I do? I picture others going, well, what could that possibly be? And then I'm like, well, I think I know what it is. I think it's love, right? And then we have these, I'll speak for myself. I have these moments of doubt being in this 3-dimensional plane that we are in as humans on the earth, right? Where we forget the love and we mess up. And we stumble and we veer off course and we make mistakes and, all those things. And so I don't know if it's just through learned experience or if I'm like, yeah, well, that must be love. Or maybe from the book that I read. I don't know. But like, how do we land on that as the highest truth for everyone? Like, my question is always like, how do we get everyone to be loving? Because then there'd be no wars and then all the kids would be happy and then everybody would be, there'd be no violence and there'd be no abuse. Like, so how do we get everybody to like realize that like, what God is love. What the highest truth is love. What all the religions are saying, the common denominator, the common thread is love. Like, how do we convert people to love?
I mean, I can't say I have the answer to that, but I would say like, even though because the energy of love vibrates at such a high frequency. But when I talk about the highest truth and creator of all that is, it's really the energy of like pure creation also, where anything is possible essentially. And when I speak about the highest truth, it's not even necessarily like, I mean, it is like the perspective of the all-knowing, but it's when I'm tapping into someone's energy and I'm seeing your highest truth. So for example, if you come to me and you're like, hey, I have this block around business, and then it really takes me to a family thing. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like that block in business, for example, could have stemmed from you as a childhood because you created a belief in your subconscious mind that stemmed from your childhood, or frankly, even a past life, or beliefs that we can carry in our genetics as well. So that's what I mean when I'm speaking about the highest truth as well. It's almost like, what is the bottom belief or the highest truth of the situation that you are dealing with or that you're energetically blocked from?
Yeah, cool. How do you advise people to get the hell out of their brains and into their hearts? Because I am, as I think many people out there listening right now, are like, I'm an overanalyzer. I'm very, I identify as smart and with it and fast and quick witted and like really like on it mentally. But I think from doing work for a number of years, like the work, right? I've realized that nothing good really happens up there in that mind of mine. Like it's mostly monkey mind, right? Unless I'm like trying to solve like a math equation or like figuring out what's for dinner, like very practical and logistical things. And so multiple times a day, I'm needing to remind myself to get back into my body, get back into my heart, right? And so how do you advise people even during your healing sessions? Because I noticed that I would start to go like, like I would like follow the thought and I'd be like, no, back to here, right? And I'd have to like back to center. And I have practice of this because of meditation and just like being aware. But how about somebody who's like, well, how do I not overthink everything? And what's the difference between this mental realm and this kind of love realm and then like the feeling realm of the body too? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
absolutely. And I'm going to answer it in like twofold because I think the first one is really, it's not like a theta healing answer necessarily, but I would just say literally getting into your body. And frankly, this was a reminder that I needed as well, because I think for a long time, this literally just happened a couple of weeks ago. For a long time, I was like, just I can theta heal my way out of anything. Like I could just, this must be a limitation. How do I reverse it, And there was a week that I was just like trying to progress and I had all these ideas, but I was just feeling like stuck and I couldn't get past it. And I was like, I have to, all these things on my to-do list. And every single day that week, something happened. Like I got a call from my kid's school. I had to pick him up because he fell. And then my daughter got sick. Then I got sick. Then something. And it was just like a very clear reminder of like, okay, no, like what you're doing isn't working. You need to get into your body. The first thing I will say is just how important like getting into your body is. And that can look different for different people. And, sure, like exercise is incredible. But for me personally, I've been doing a lot more breath work and it's just been very powerful. Just like a quick 8-minute breath work meditation. And I swear it just changes my whole day.
If you're loving this conversation as much as me, consider becoming a Raising Wild Hearts Plus subscriber. Your subscription will land you exclusive ad-free bonus episodes. Think behind-the-scenes conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, you'll be supporting your favorite independent content creator. That's me, guys. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes of a podcast. By subscribing to Raising Wild Hearts Plus, your monthly subscription will help support the show so that I can keep creating amazing content for you. If you're ready to join, click the link in the show description. Can't wait to see you in there. All right, back to the show. Yeah.
And even somatic healing as well has been big lately. But the other thing, part 2 of that, what I will say, and this is kind of from the theta healing or subconscious mind perspective, is that sometimes that need to overthink is actually a limiting belief in our subconscious mind.
Oh.
And I can give you a very direct example from my own life. Because for a long time, I struggled with being present. And it's like I could get present when I'm meditating and I was always a very like spiritual person. Like I knew how important it was, but I wasn't actually present as often as I'd like to think I was. And for me, it was like being with my children. I remember, I knew not to be on my phone and I wouldn't really be on my phone with my children. But even if I wasn't, even if I was just there to play with my children, I would have like a to-do list running at the back of my head or be like, okay, like I need to do this later. And after this, I'm going to read this book and then I'm going to do this, and yada, yada, yada. And when I tuned into it, for me, there was a belief that it was tied to success. So it was a belief that in order to be successful, I had to be productive. And in order to be productive, I had to be busy. And so when you have those beliefs, and this was just the case in, my example, but for everyone, it could look different. But when you have that, you could be operating on constantly finding things to be, to be busy, to think that you're productive or make you feel productive because you have those beliefs. And like, was it effective? Probably not, but it really, that's, one of the big shifts I've seen as well is just kind of being present and showing up presently with my children and with my husband. And like by clearing that, it just allowed me to, I don't know, to have space to just be, to really be there and not try to rush my playtime with them.
Yeah. I think so many of us, I know I do resonate with that. Because I mean, I joke with my husband, like he's the fun one. Like he's the one who can like sit down and play and do the puzzle and this and that, because I have like a 20-minute limit. Like I will literally sometimes set a timer and be like, I played with our son for 20 minutes today. And my husband's like, congratulations. And he can do it for longer. And I think I have a similar, as a kind of a self-identifying ambitious woman, I have a similar belief, or let's say had a similar belief around ambition and the to-do list and the check boxes and things like that. That really resonates, that example. And I think too, one of the things that I was really surprised by, but not so much at the same time, was that I came into you and I said, okay, I have this problem, right? We wanted to focus kind of on one question. And my question was belonging, and like, this sense of, where do I belong? Do I belong? I'm not sure if I belong. I don't think I belong, that kind of a thing. And in our session, we went to all these other beliefs, these other examples that I like just didn't even have in my mind. Like they weren't top of mind. I would have never logically gone, oh, well, it must be because when my brother was born when I was 10, this, that, and whatever happened. But yet we went to those places. So can you speak a little bit about like just the power of the subconscious and how like these things, that the beliefs, the worldviews, the things that we're struggling with, like they're not even on our radar. They're not conscious, like hence the definition of subconscious. Can you speak a bit on that and how it's like kind of running the show?
Absolutely. So exactly what you said about running the show. Our subconscious mind runs 95% of our life on autopilot. So when we want to change something, or when we want to say like, I really want to do this, but it's not part of your 95% that's like automatic based on your beliefs, your patterns, your behaviors, your, knowledge, your whatever else in your life, then it literally, the reason that change can feel so hard is it literally takes the 5% of your conscious mind to then decide, and then to have also the willpower to then like, keep it up essentially. And so with that, sometimes it's difficult to know, like, as you said, it's, the definition of subconscious, like it's difficult to know what actually lives in our subconscious. And the clearest way to see what's in our subconscious is our reality today, is to look at your life,
Like everything that's in front of you, you've created.
Right.
That kind of a deal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing about our subconscious is it's there to protect us, right? And so when we create something that we don't necessarily like in our life, it's easy to think like, oh, I'm being punished, or look at this toxic, relationship again, or this, boss that is terrible to me again, or whatnot. Chances are there is a belief in your subconscious mind that is actually, protecting you from something else. And so, for example, if you're one example is around money. Say if you're like calling in money and you're like, I want more money, and you could be practicing all the affirmations and saying, I'm abundant and bring me more money and all of that. But maybe you grew up in a family where, your parents fought about money, or, oftentimes, or say if you grew up with parents that were separated and one was abundant and the other was, had a scarcity mentality. And so maybe your money was just confusing for you. Maybe you're like, I don't want anything to do with money because it's confusing, and I've seen that in clients as well. And so when you are stating something that you want or calling in a manifestation and you say, I want more money, it's almost like, what are you asking for louder? Are you asking for more money? Or are you saying, please protect me from money because money separates families? Or, money is evil. Money is dangerous. Money is, whatever that looks like. My parents fought about money and I don't want to cause that. Therefore, please protect me from money. And so with theta healing and just in general, just accessing the subconscious mind, why it's so critical to kind of be able to see that. And from your session, like the first part of our session, it was just almost me tapping in and channeling. So I wasn't, making commands to clear beliefs. I was saying, oh, like, did you grow up? Did you have a brother? Did you do this? And it was just like I was picking up little bits and pieces, and then it was slowly starting to shape up. And I was like, okay, great. That's where those beliefs came from. And I think a big part of this work is me kind of energetically witnessing that energetic shift. But a big part of it is also for your subconscious mind to get on board with your conscious mind. And so when I speak these belief clearings, and when they resonate with you and you're like, oh my God, of course this stemmed from my childhood. Of course this is what happened. Like a big shift is actually with you just consciously recognizing it, because it's kind of like they say, 50% of the solution is just admitting the problem. And so when you can recognize it where it's coming from, then you can just say, yeah, I don't want to operate from this anymore. And so when I clear those beliefs, you can say like, yes, I want to clear that. And it helps to get your conscious mind on board as well.
Yeah. So I'm so curious how you use your knowledge of theta healing and the subconscious as a mom, because I am under the belief and from the child development studies I've done that basically 0 to 7 is like that subconscious mind just being programmed all day, every day. And so I'm curious how you use your knowledge as a mama.
I knew this would come up, but honestly, I feel like I don't use it as much as like you'd expect me to use it.
Yeah.
I think in what I do is like energy clearings on my children, because my children are only 1 and 3. And so they're going to daycare. And so, and they don't like, my 3-year-old speaks to me, obviously, but it's not, I don't know how much of it I can trust at this point. And so for me, like I have kind of tapped into their energy to see like, okay, it's school,
Yeah.
But it's really just been more about like clearing their energy so that way they are not, especially my 3-year-old, and he is such a sweet and sensitive soul, and he's like my little mama's boy. But I feel like I'm like protective over his energy, especially because he is more cautious, he is more sensitive, he is more like, gentle. And so it's just kind of doing these like energetic clearings. And one thing I will actually share is that my son, my 3-year-old, for about 6 months, literally like every single day, he'd be like, my tummy hurts. But it wouldn't be like drastic, like he'd just say it and continue playing, or you know what I mean? And so for a while we kind of watched it, and then, the doctor told us like maybe try to limit dairy. And so we tried to do that. And so we took him to the hospital, and then she's like, honestly, it's not like, considering he doesn't have any other symptoms, considering, there's not that, she's like, there's really nothing that we can like test for. She's like, we could take his blood, but she's like, there's nothing that I'm like overly concerned about. But she's like, I also understand you're the parent, and, he's kind of complaining about this almost daily for like a long time. And so for me, and I didn't think to do this until then, but essentially, like I tapped in and I really felt like it was very energetic for him. And so it was actually since then that I started doing these energy clearings for him. And it was specifically like after school, and I would just it was just a quick like meditation, connecting to the light and like clearing his energy through theta healing. And I kid you not, you could ask my husband, but he has not complained about his tummy hurting since then. And so like it was such a powerful thing for me too, because kids are so open. They are so open to change and to just so susceptible. And as you know, from especially ages 0 to 7. And so that was just like one beautiful way that I saw a direct impact. It was like from every day saying it to never saying it again, from that change. And so I would say like that was the biggest thing that I've like done with theta healing on my children. But other than that, I mean, our children are here for their own experience. They are their own little beings. So it's not so much that it's us as adults that develop all these like limiting beliefs from our childhood, where as adults, we're like, that doesn't serve me. I am ready to move past it. I am ready to shed those layers. But as kids, like they are they already know who they are. They know who they became to be. They don't have so many layers to shed. So it's really just about like cleansing their energy and, clearing off any energy that doesn't belong to them.
Yeah. And you don't have to be a theta healer to do that, right? Is it all about the intention? Like if you have young kids, I didn't realize how little your kids were, 1 and 3. My gosh, so sweet. So I guess I think because, I mean, I've done Reiki, like I've done a Reiki training, but I think even not as a Reiki practitioner, just as a mom with a bit of knowledge on how energy works and, how we can heal the system, I would place an intention, like a loving intention. And I would maybe put my hands on my child or even just like kind of send this loving energy and this intention for their field to be essentially like cleared. Would you say that that's all you need to do? Like for somebody who's like, how can I do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, the only difference is that I kind of tap into the seventh plane, but really I agree with you that it's mostly about the intention, right? And there are plenty even like guided meditations online to just try to, clear your own energy, and you could do that to your children. And for me, I even started kind of saying that to my 3-year-old out loud as well, and putting on like some guide. I remember even before theta healing when he was younger, I would put on like a guided meditation and just, sometimes he would sit, sometimes he would play, whatever, but I'm just like, it can't hurt. The intention is more powerful than anything.
So I want to talk about ambition. You took a chance, you took a leap, you left a corporate career. You learned how to become a theta healer. You really decided, from where I'm standing, to take the path less traveled. And for me, I think that is something that is really important to talk about because there are so many people out there who want to do it and haven't for whatever reason, or who are doing it and perhaps it feels lonely. So can you speak a bit on just like, following your dream and creating this alternative path for yourself career-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I was on like a spiritual journey for honestly close to a decade at this point. And for a long time, I knew I had, a calling, like a higher calling or a calling for more. And I knew there was something, out there for me. And I liked my job in corporate, but I knew that it wasn't like my sole purpose here, And for a long time, I didn't really know how to pursue that calling and, how to frankly have the courage to step into it. And it was a couple of years ago that I started learning theta healing. And so I was doing, and again, my intention was just to learn it for myself. And so I was, practicing it like literally every day since, and until, later I was like, okay, I can actually do this. Like this is pretty cool and I can kind of step into this. But there were still so many beliefs around being seen. I mean, talk about like even coming out of spiritual closet, as I like to call it. But, that was
Totally.
This is not the vibe in my corporate role whatsoever.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, it was scary. And actually, well, what actually happened was I got laid off from my corporate role. So it wasn't it wasn't like I completely stepped into it. But in my mind, I was thinking, I'm gonna, do this and make this a business on my spare time. And then when I'm like making more money, then I'm gonna leave corporate. But it happened a lot sooner. And frankly, it was this inner knowing that I was just like, I know this layoff happened for me divinely. I didn't think I'm ready, but God thinks I'm ready, clearly. And because I could have just as easily slipped back into another corporate role and like, look for another job. But it was just this inner knowing that I was like, no, I know I am meant to go all in. I know I am meant to trust this. And this happened divinely. And frankly, it was thanks to theta healing that gave me the courage, because I don't know how else I would have been able to like clear a lot of limiting beliefs. And a big one of mine was around being seen. I mean, that was huge. And to even think that I'm posting videos on my social media with my face just talking in the videos is wild.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love stories like this because there is an inner knowing that I believe we all possess, and we don't all walk the same path, and we're not all meant to leave corporate careers. And, it's not like that for everybody, but I do believe there is a path less traveled for everybody and a courage. I love that you use that word that we need to tap into to kind of step into, walk into the path that will unfold the most growth, that will serve humanity in the best and highest way. You know, I do think that there is room for us, most of us, to step up right now and to really, really start to be courageous in the moves that we make, the way we work, the way we play, the way we live our lives, the way we parent. You know, there's this shift that I believe does need to take place. And so I love seeing people like you who took a chance on themselves and like cleared the belief of like, I can't be seen. I don't want to be seen. It's scary to be seen, whatever that was. And that you cleared it and you stepped through it. And I'm sure there will be other blocks as you move along the path. And I don't think the work is ever done. But how do you see this like hamster wheel? Because I think for a long time, I was on a hamster wheel of like healing a little bit. Like I thought, oh, just when I get this place. Oh, just when I get this healed. Oh, and it was just like another vision of like empty success, just dressed up in like a different outfit kind of. So how do you see, like, for me, your work seems just more like one and done, like set it and forget it. Like, okay, I'm good to go. Like, I don't need to now go from this to my Reiki session and that, then do this. And then I don't need to do this and that and whatever. Like, I think I got caught up and many of us get caught up in this like healing loop of, oh, we're not healed yet. We haven't shed all the beliefs yet. Like, how do you see that from where you're standing?
And I hear you. And I was on that wheel for a long time too. I was always the person that, wanted to read more books and listen to more podcasts and, take the courses. And I also got certified in Reiki. And so, and do all of that. And so I totally hear it. And I feel like to some extent, sometimes it is kind of like a calling for us that does help to lead to the next step. But I think what's key is also recognizing who you are and how you show up when you're going through it as well. So again, going back to, are you making this decision from love or from fear? Are you making it out of fear because you don't know enough and so you need to learn more? Or are you called to it? Because sometimes, like, for example, with Reiki, it's like maybe that wasn't in my path to become a Reiki healer, but maybe it did serve me in that time. You know what I mean? And so it's not necessarily that the courses and the, the podcasts and all that stuff are bad. Everyone's path just looks different. But I would also just say, like, trust your own voice more than anyone else's. And that could look different for different people. Meditation is a good resource. But I think also when you are off track, for example, then life will throw something in your path to kind of shift you. And so I think a big thing of, getting on your right path, following your truth and kind of getting closer to who you want to become and your purpose or your destiny is to pay attention to like how you react to things that come on your path. Because even for me, speaking about getting laid off, like I could have seen it as like the worst thing ever because it's like I wasn't ready. I didn't think I was ready. I wasn't ready to just quit, and so it could have been extremely scary. And I could have been like, oh my God, I'm never, going to make money doing this on my own. So I have to start looking for another job and all that stuff. But that decision would have been out of fear. So COVID is another big example. I know many people for whom it completely shifted and realigned their lives, but it ended up actually creating something beautiful in it, And so whether it's a global pandemic or a layoff or just something in your path that, doesn't align, say you keep trying to push in one direction and then it's, something isn't working out, trust that as well and take it all as like, breadcrumbs of information and as little tips for you.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody right now who's going through a challenge, who feels like they're kind of in a dark time, who feels like they're trying to overcome something and they just feel like they're kind of up against a wall? They maybe perceive that they don't have the choices they want. Like, what would you say to that person who just feels like really stuck in their lives?
I think a big thing is about shifting the mindset from like victimhood to empowerment. And I know that can, sound and be very difficult in the moment when you're going through a really rough time. But I think it can be literally as small as making a list of, say you have your situation that you're going through and you make a list with 2 columns. One is what I can't control and the other is what I can control in that situation. And, what you can't control, there's power in just writing it down and owning it. To be like, you know what, I can't control this situation. And that's okay. It's like a way of releasing it, even if it's just on paper. But there could be micro things that you can control in that, situation. It could be, well, I'm going to make a phone call that could lead to this. Or I'm going to take a walk outside because it's going to make me feel better. Or, whatever, depending on the situation, of course. And so I think just it's about the micro actions that kind of train your mind to start looking for and getting more of empowerment rather than victimhood, And
Yeah.
and I think that's the trap because of course if when hard things happen to us, like, it's hard not to see ourselves as a victim, but it's like what happens from there that matters. Are you going to go down further down that hole, or are you going to take little micro steps to get out of it?
Yeah, love that. I think in retrospect, like looking back at the times that I've struggled, especially recently, my husband lost his job in 2020. I got pregnant that same year. We started homeschooling. Like so many, we had financial issues. We sold a house. We moved. I mean, it was like bam, bam. But it was like just the waves like kept coming and they kept coming. And I never really in that time, like I never succumbed to like, ugh, I'm depressed or I just like can't get out of bed. And I can see why that's so easy for people to go to that
Mhm.
place of like despair. And I think during that time I just like made the best out of it, even though there were like some really shitty days and some really hard days. And I still look back and went like, oh my God, that happened. And like I chose to like bring my kids to the beach and just like play music really loud with the windows down. Like, I think so much of what I'm hearing you say is like we have these micro choices every single day amidst the struggle. And I also think, you let me know your take on this, really, maybe to a fault, think like that struggle so triumphant in the end. Like we have to have that struggle. We have to have that friction to really like walk through that and become that next up level version of ourselves. Maybe that's a limiting belief though, that things have to be hard. I've kind of grappled with that a little bit of like, oh, work has to be hard or this has to be hard in order for it to really pay off. Like what's your take on the challenge and the struggle?
So this is a juicy one. I love this question. So I don't necessarily believe that work has to be hard or like, we have to go through a hard battle necessarily. But because I think even in the battle, it's almost like how hard do we want to make it? I think one key thing to recognize as well is our triggers, actually. And I talk about triggers because they truly are and can be our expanders. Because when we pay attention to what is it that, triggers us, it's like if we're triggered by someone else's success, for example, then chances are there is a part there that is ready to be healed where we are not allowing that abundance for ourselves, Or if we're
Yeah.
triggered by someone being, like too much or something, chances are there's a part of us that's not allowing our fullest expression, And so this is where I also talk about like the subconscious work always being is like it always protecting you as well, And so like your limiting beliefs, they're not about punishment. They're about protecting you because they're serving a purpose in your life. So going back to the original question of, do you need to go through a struggle? I think struggle in general can, looks different for different people. And I think it's like about learning and moving through it. So for some people, I mean, sure, it can, you might be dealt some like a poor hand and you need to overcome that in order to get on the other side. But even for me and my example, I didn't like my journey into healing didn't come from trauma. I didn't come from like a very, traumatic background, but it was this knowing that I had like a calling for more. And I would say like one of the biggest things that I had to work through, I mean, I can't say I haven't, like, it's not like, I'm not trying to limit the amount of things I had to work on because there was definitely like scarcity blocks and a lot of that. But one of the biggest things I feel like is really about overcoming the fear of being seen and stepping into my full expression. And someone else can look at that and say, that's nothing, like really like, overcoming showing up on camera. But for me, it was terrifying, and so struggle is relative. But I also want to really spread the message that healing doesn't need to be hard, and transformation and change don't need to be hard. And I think that's really why I'm so just in awe of this work of theta healing, and why I do the work that I do is because I realize like how quickly things can shift. You no longer need years of therapy to like hash out old trauma. It's really a big part of it is, as I mentioned, getting your subconscious mind on board with your conscious mind and just like hearing that to be able to release it, to be able to admit to yourself, you know what? Yeah, I did have that belief and it's no longer serving me and I don't want to operate from that truth anymore.
Amen. I mean, I think as someone who's been on that roller coaster of like, oh, I'll be fine when I can overcome this and overcome that. And I just remember telling a coach in like 2019-ish, like, I just don't know when I'm going to feel like I'm not like trudging through the mud anymore. And little did I know in 2019, that was just like the practice round. I mean, it wasn't even like, the hard shit wasn't even really happening at that time. But I really distinctly remember that. Our session, Stasia, was so easy. It was like, oh, okay. And you asked me, like, as we were wrapping up, like, how do I feel? And I was like, I feel lighter and I feel so satiated and satisfied, which, like, had to do with another limiting belief and something else I've been struggling with in, just like everyday life. And it just was so simple. Like, how often do we need to do this? Like, is it like one and done? Should we do it like monthly for some maintenance? Like, is it when shit comes up, then we call you? Like, how often should we do it?
So I wouldn't say it's for like maintenance necessarily, because it's like these beliefs are lasting, right? And so the work that we did today is lasting. But I would say, I mean, I guess it's depending on where you are in your journey. Because if you're completely new, like you haven't even looked inward at all, there might be deeper and deeper layers and deeper beliefs that, you've been kind of holding on to and haven't been able to admit. And so, yes, like it might be longer because I can't speak enough beliefs out in an hour, to get through that. The other thing I will say is that as long as we keep living, we will continue to keep growing. We will continue to have dreams. There is never going to be a time where it's going to be like, well, I have no more desires. I am satisfied. And that's not coming from a place of, not having enough or like, I'll never be good enough. It's like you can get to a place where you are so thrilled and grateful and happy and ecstatic about where you are today, but still desire more just because you know that there's more life to live. There's more abundance to create. There's more joy to be had. And so, that's another way where it's like, as long as we keep expanding, we can be, we can always do more of this work to get to the next level and the next level after that. But I would always just say like, it's more of, a calling. Like, I feel like you would know, you know what I mean? It's not something I'd be like, Ryan, your prescription is in 2 weeks. We're going to be back.
Tell me what to do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What I heard you say in that too is there's a level of contentment that if you've already been doing the work and you have some, understandings of where you've come from, where you're going, what you've struggled with, like there is this, and I can attest to this because I feel this way. After our session today, there's this level of contentment. And I think we are so used to in our culture and our society, like the highs and the lows. And, we're kind of on this roller coaster with the news and just, the things that happen in the world and our emotions, we can really get kind of tripped up into living these like highs and lows. And for me, one of the places that I seek is just like simply like peace and contentment, like happy in this moment, even though it's raining, like happy in this moment, even though da da da, like whatever is just is. And we can be content in that. And I don't know about anyone else, but that sounds like a pretty awesome place to live. Just like being content that, like, things are happening all around me and I get to choose. It's like as simple as that.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, tying it back to the work, like sometimes there is a limiting belief that we can't, or we don't feel safe in just being content. We feel like we always need to be striving in order to, or productive or moving. And I mean, even just relating it back to the example I gave earlier, like I thought, to be successful, I had to be busy always, and so that was a limiting belief. And so because I wanted to be successful, it was like, I'm going to keep doing that. And, one basic thing, like one of the basic things that we do in theta healing is actually download feelings. And so sometimes we literally don't know what safety in our body feels like, or what success feels like, or what abundance feels like. And it's not to say that, the people that don't know how that feels like, that they'll never achieve it, or they're cursed from getting successful, for example. But it's like, if you don't know what success actually feels like in your body, then it will never be enough. You can achieve levels of success and still be like, oh, it's not good enough, or this person has it better, or I need to keep keep struggling, or whatever that looks like, where you won't actually take the time to be satisfied or to celebrate your success and to actually be at peace. And so yeah, I mean, I frankly, like I've seen stuff in myself as well. And sometimes it really is a limitation and a limiting belief that we can't actually be, or we rather like protect ourselves or prevent ourselves from fully enjoying it. And another one I will share real quick as well is a fear of when you have, the perfect marriage, or the perfect, success in your career, or the perfect whatever that looks like, the fear that it'll be boring, or the fear that it won't meet your expectations, or the fear that, it's not going to be good enough. And so you keep yourself on this hamster wheel of being like, well, I need to keep, cause chaos. I need to do this. I need to do that. Because if it's going to be perfect, it'll be boring. Or if it's perfect, it's not good enough.
Those are such good examples. And I can relate to that. I gave up, like, I like to say, like, I gave up gossip like 5+ years ago, probably even more than that. And
I love that you have a timer.
I do. I know. I do. I'm like, I gave up gossip like however many years ago. And sometimes though, I'll catch myself wanting to like stir the pot in like a very subtle way. And I'm like, there's that thing again. You're trying to make things all chaotic. Or if my husband says something that's like very just like innocent or whatever, I'll like have a tendency to like want to make it a very dramatic and or self-righteous stand. Spread a rumor. Yeah, something silly like that. Those are such good examples. You are a gift. Thank you so much for the work you do in this world. I'm so excited to be, again, walking this path with you. I'm so excited for the Rise and Flourish Summit, where you will be one of our speakers and one of our session holders. I don't even, whatever, one of our practitioners there. I am like beyond thrilled that we will be able to gift your masterfulness and your presence and your expertise to everybody there, including myself. Like, I'm so excited. I created this event, and Ashley and I created this event because it's an event that we need. It's a day off. It's a chance to reset. It's a chance to let go of the things that have been holding us back and really, really walk away so filled up, so just like overflowing at the brim that it spreads out into the world, it spreads out into our families. And I believe that the ripple effect is real. And so I'm so thrilled that you will be there to help usher this beautiful vision into the world with us.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much. And I'm just so thrilled to be part of the event. So thank you. And I'm so thrilled about it. I mean, I'll be talking about the subconscious mind and ultimately empowering these women to understand how much power and control we actually have over our realities and over our life. Because so often, when we have limitations and limiting beliefs in our subconscious mind, because it's subconscious and we can't, really identify them, we think that it's outside of us, or we think that the circumstances happening to us are, happening to us as opposed to us creating them, or the relationships we attract, or whatever that looks like, or the patterns we're playing out in our marriages or as mothers or in our careers. But your subconscious is a part of you. Like it is you. And so once you understand its power and also how to harness it, that there are tools to go into the subconscious, and it doesn't have to be, years of therapy, just to understand that you do have that power is empowering, frankly.
Yeah.
But also, I'll be hosting a live group theta healing session. And I'm so thrilled to that. I've done a number of group sessions. And of course, it's a little bit different than one-on-ones, because one-on-ones just goes so deep into childhood and, all this stuff. But group sessions actually go quite deep as well. And I just kind of put the intention that everyone, listening, everyone there is, hears exactly what they're meant to hear, and it hits them as much as it can. And sometimes we tap into like collective consciousness, and clear beliefs there. So I'm so thrilled.
Oh my God, it's going to be so powerful. I cannot wait. I think when a group of women, when a group of mothers, when a group of conscious women and mission-driven women get into a room together, I don't know of anything else more powerful. I mean, I really use that word power, and I am really, really feeling that. So yes, join us. It's October 25th in Deerfield Beach. The early ticket sales are still happening now, so I'll link it down below. Come say hi. Come give us a hug in real life. Come do a theta healing collectively with us. It's going to be amazing. In the meantime, Stasia, where can we find you and follow you and learn all about the work you're doing in the world?
Absolutely. So my Instagram handle is @createhigher. Higher spelled HIGHER. And my website is createhigher.com as well. And that's where you can find me.
Amazing. So now I'm going to ask you the 3 rapid fire questions I ask everybody at the end of the interview. And the first one is, what's bringing you joy today?
Oof, yes. I would say connection. I mean, this is beautiful. Our session earlier brought me so much joy. I'm so privileged to work with the people that I do work with, because I take it as such an honor to be able to let into your space, like your highest truth, in that way. And so it truly brought me joy today.
What, if anything, are you reading right now?
This is actually not my typical reading, but I'm reading a book called Feng Shui Manifest.
Ooh.
And what's interesting is I'm totally new to Feng Shui, but I've had a little ping to follow through with it. This book is written by a woman named Chelsea Vandenberg. And what's really cool about it is she actually ties it to the subconscious mind, because she explains that we don't actually see with our eyes. Our eyes just let the light in. We see with our brain, because our brain is what perceives everything around us. And so, with all my work in the subconscious mind, it's like, of course, our brain is perceiving our physical environment. And so she kind of speaks about Feng Shui and explains it from that perspective. And yeah, it's been an interesting read.
That sounds so cool. Okay, the last question I have for you now is, who or what has taught you the most?
Oof, I would say my husband. My husband and my children too, but mostly my husband. And I would say it from the perspective that everything around us is a reflection of us. And so, as I mentioned earlier, to pay attention to your triggers, because they are our expanders. And my husband and I, we've been together for about a decade now, married for 4 years. And he has seen me go through my entire spiritual path. Like learning about all of this and going all in. And there were definitely triggers that were brought up early on, but it's once you focus on your triggers and see them as your reflections and expanders, and you work through them, then it's beautiful.
I think you're the second person who's named her husband as her biggest teacher. And the first time I got so emotional because it reflected something back for me that was so profound. And this time I'm not crying anymore, but I shed a lot of tears earlier, so maybe I'm all out. Again, such a beautiful reflection. Like, shout out to all the men out there who are just like holding it down for their free flowing feminine wives, because I just love it. So shout out to all the good men out there.
I love that so much. It's so true. I literally thank my husband, because I was like, not only was it weird for me to come out of this closet and tell you like, oh yeah, I channel now. Oh, I'm tapping into source, and yes, I can, control energy, but for him to also be supportive in me stepping into this work full time and just kind of believing in me and trusting in that vision and my dream and seeing it for himself as well. And I'm so grateful for that.
So beautiful. Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Ryan.
You stuck around for the long haul today. That's amazing. If you have not signed up yet, become a Raising Wild Hearts Plus member. By joining today, you'll get exclusive ad-free episodes. These are real and raw conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, I'll include you on my weekly Wednesday emails. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's funny. It's always from the heart. I don't know about you, but I'm all for inbox inspiration. So let's keep this conversation going. Click the link in the description to join Raising Wild Hearts Plus now.